The last thing Vel packed before leaving for Earth was a small notebook. His mother, Satha, watched him fold his camo suit into the travel bag with the calm efficiency of someone who had absolutely no idea what was about to happen to them. "It's a Category 2 planet," she said, reading from the program brochure. "Low atmospheric aggression index, dominant species, bipedal, endothermic, moderately social." She lowered the brochure. "It says here the biggest risk is something called small talk." Vel nodded. He had read the briefing, all 3 pages of it. He was not worried. He should have been very worried. The Galactic Exchange Program had been placing students on inhabited worlds for centuries. The idea was straightforward. A young researcher spends 3 months living among a species, documents their customs, and returns home with a thesis. Most students came back mildly bored. A few came back with dietary restrictions they couldn't fully explain. Nobody had ever come back changed in any way that required professional attention. Vel was 22, studying comparative biology at the Institute, and had been selected from over 400 applicants. He was by any measure an excellent candidate, patient, observant, with a naturally stable psychological baseline and a genuine academic interest in how different species organized their daily existence. The program coordinator, Wick, had shaken his hand at departure with the serene confidence of someone who had sent dozens of students to dozens of worlds and never once had a reason to worry. "Sol 3, Wick had said. "Temperate zone, rural host family. You'll be fine." Vel landed in Kansas on a Tuesday afternoon in September. The first living thing he encountered after stepping out of his concealed landing pod was a mosquito. It landed on his left forearm, which, under the camo suit, was currently presenting as a perfectly ordinary human forearm, and bit him. Vel looked at it. The mosquito looked at him. Then it bit him again, presumably because the first time hadn't been satisfying enough. Vel noted this in his notebook. Day 1, Entry 1. The local fauna has no concept of diplomacy. His host family lived 12 minutes down a gravel road in a house that sat at the edge of a soybean field like it had been placed there by someone who'd lost a bet. Their names were Dale and Patty Birkin, and they had a son named Tyler who was 9 years old and had the unnerving quality of asking questions without waiting for answers. "Are you from Europe?" Tyler asked before Vel had cleared the porch. "Yes," said Vel, because the briefing had said to say yes. "You don't look European," Tyler said. "What does European look like?" Vel asked, genuinely curious. Tyler thought about it. I don't know. More tired, I guess?" Vel noted this too. His room was small, with a window that faced the field and a dog named Biscuit who slept at the foot of the bed and snored at a frequency real species associated with mild structural distress in buildings. He liked it. He was, in those first days, genuinely happy. His first letters home reflected this. "Dear Mother, the humans are smaller than the files suggested and considerably louder. The food contains an ingredient called butter that appears in everything, including things that seem structurally opposed to the idea of butter. I have been assigned a sleeping companion, a domesticated predator named Biscuit, who I believe is attempting to dominate me through sustained acoustic pressure. I am well. The sky here is a remarkable shade of blue. I think I am going to enjoy this." Satha read this letter to Vel's father over breakfast. "He sounds happy," said Alan. "He always sounds happy at first," said Satha, who had done 1 semester on a Category 3 planet 30 years ago and never talked about it. The second week, Vel was taken to a grocery store. He later described this experience as the moment the briefing began to seem fiction. The store was the size of a small aircraft hangar and contained, by his estimate, over 40,000 individual products, a significant portion of which were different varieties of the same thing. There were, for example, 26 types of bread. Vel stood in front of them for 11 full minutes, completely still, until Dale appeared at his elbow. "Need help?" "There are 26 breads," Vel said. Dale nodded. That's not even the big store. Vel turned slowly. There is a bigger store? About 20 miles east. Has a subway in it. Vel did not know what a subway was. He did not ask. Some questions he was beginning to understand. Open doors that didn't close again. His second letter home was longer. The humans have constructed an economic system of extraordinary complexity for the purpose of selling each other slightly different versions of the same items. I counted the bread varieties. I also began counting the yogurt varieties. I stopped counting the yogurt varieties. There is a cultural ritual here called doing errands, which involves traveling by vehicle to multiple locations to exchange small amounts of currency for goods, and the entire process generates a low-grade collective misery that nobody questions. They call this adulting. I believe this is a verb now. I am still well. The mosquitoes have formed what I believe are squadrons. Owen read this one.
Setha, he said quietly, should we call the program? Not yet, she said. Let him finish. The 10th week, Patty took Vil to a high school football game. It was a cold Friday night. The field lit up like a stage, the bleachers packed with people wrapped in blankets and school colors, drinking hot chocolate and cheering for teenagers most of them didn't know personally. Vil sat next to Patty, and at some point she said without looking at him, "You doing okay?" "Yes," he said. "You look like you're thinking too hard." "I do that." She nodded. They watched the game for a while. Then she said, still not looking at him, "My mother grew up in this town, and her mother before her. Every fall they sat in these same bleachers. I sat here as a kid. Tyler will sit here." She shrugged just slightly. "It's not a big thing. It's just our thing." Vil didn't say anything. That night, he sat at the desk in his room and wrote for 3 hours. Not a letter, just notes, page after page. Outside, the soybean field was dark and flat, and Biscuit was snoring at his feet. And somewhere in the distance there was the sound of a freight train, long and low and entirely unhurried. The last night came without ceremony. Vil sat at the same desk and wrote the final letter. It was not what his family expected. Dear Mother, dear Father, I have spent nearly 3 months trying to understand what humans are. I tried biological frameworks, sociological ones, behavioral models. None of them worked. And I've spent a considerable amount of time being annoyed about that. So I will tell you what I actually think. And I apologize in advance because I don't believe this is what a good academic report is supposed to say. Humans live on a planet that is, by any rational standard, actively trying to kill them. The atmosphere is unstable. The other species are routinely lethal. The climate swings between hostile and catastrophically hostile with little warning. Microscopic organisms wage constant war on their bodies. They have plate tectonics. They have hurricanes. They have fire ants. They have a spider. I found one in the bathroom in week 2 whose venom causes symptoms I will not describe because I don't want either of you to stop sleeping. They are also, at the biological level, absurdly fragile. No natural armor, no venom of their own, no significant speed. Their young are helpless for years. They get sick from water if it isn't treated first. They sleep for 1/3 of their lives, and during that time, they are completely defenseless. And yet, they built cities. They wrote music. They grow 400-pound pumpkins and cry about it. They sit in cold bleachers on Friday nights for the sake of something unspoken. They hand juice boxes to strangers in hospital waiting rooms. They name their predators and let them sleep on the bed. They eat food that was on fire for 12 hours and call it love. I don't think humans are dangerous because of what they can do. I think they are dangerous because of what they refuse to stop doing, no matter what this planet throws at them. And this planet has thrown everything. They just keep going. Not heroically, not dramatically. They keep going the way water keeps going, the way that freight train keeps going, because stopping for them simply does not occur as an option. I extended my stay twice because I kept believing I was about to understand them. I now think that was the wrong goal. You cannot understand them from the outside. You can only watch. I am coming home tomorrow. I don't know what to do with any of this. P.S. The mosquitoes have begun operating in shifts. I believe they have a command structure. Please flag this in whatever report you file. Seth and Rareth read the letter together at the kitchen table. Neither said anything for a long time. "He's changed," Seth said finally. "Yes," said Rareth. "Is that bad?" Seth folded the letter carefully. "I don't know yet." When Vil returned, the Institute gave him 6 weeks before his formal report was due. He spent most of them at his desk at home, staring at the wall with the focused expression of someone trying to reassemble a puzzle that had arrived without a picture on the box. The report he eventually submitted was, and this is recorded in the official minutes of the Overeth Institute's Review Committee, not a report. It was, the committee noted with increasing distress as they turned the pages, somewhere between a scientific document, a personal testament, and something one member later described as an argument I cannot find a flaw in and desperately wish I could. It was 812 pages long. It included appendices on atmospheric lethality, evolutionary biological risk, psychological resilience indices, and a final section titled simply, "On the Matter of Juice Boxes." The committee requested a meeting. Vil came with his notebook. "We have some questions," said the committee chair Dolvin, who had the expression of someone who had read all 812 pages and aged noticeably in the process. "I expected that," said Vil. "Your conclusion," said Dolvin, "is that Sol 3 should be reclassified as a Category 1 extreme risk planet, the highest designation in the registry." "Yes, based on everything," Vil said. "Based on everything." Dolvin looked down at the report. "You note in Appendix 9 that the dominant species has a tradition of voluntarily jumping out of aircraft for recreational purposes. Skydiving," Reville confirmed. "Yes, and they do this for fun. Some do it on their birthdays specifically." The room was quiet. "The reclassification," said Dolvin slowly, "would affect 300 active transit corridors. It would require rerouting a significant portion of the commercial lanes in this entire sector." "I know," said Vil. "All because of one exchange student's report." "All because of one planet," Vil said quietly. "The report is just the paperwork." The reclassification was approved 9 months later, after 4 independent review committees confirmed Reville's findings, and 2 of the reviewers requested extended leave afterward. Sol 3 became officially the most dangerous planet ever catalogued. The designation came with a new hazard symbol, a red circle with a small blue dot at its center, which the committee considered elegant in its simplicity, though there had been considerable debate about whether the design should include something more alarming. They ultimately agreed that the blue dot was alarming enough once you understood what it meant. New route maps were issued, navigation briefings were updated, entire sections of the Galactic Transit Guide were rewritten. And on Earth, on a Tuesday morning in March, Dale Birkin sat at his kitchen table in Kansas, drinking his second coffee, reading something on his phone, entirely unaware that 200 light-years away, a committee had just finished rerouting interstellar trade lanes because of him, or more precisely, because of his planet. Or more precisely still, because of the freight train and the bleachers and the juice box and the brisket that took 12 hours and made a young alien stand very still in a backyard and not know what to write. Biscuit was at his feet, snoring. Outside, the soybean field was exactly as flat and unremarkable as it had always been. Years later, a journalist from the Interplanetary Review asked Vil one question, just one. He was older by then, teaching at the Institute, his original notebook long since filled and replaced several times over. The question was, if you could go back, would you? Vil was quiet for a moment. He looked out the window. He thought about the grocery store and the brisket and the waiting room and Patty on the cold bleachers saying, "It's just our thing." He thought about Biscuit, who was almost certainly gone by now. He thought about the mosquitoes, who were almost certainly not. "I would go back," he said, and then, after a pause so small the journalist nearly missed it, "I'd pack better."